So let's take a look at some of the helpfulness or reasons for understanding the properties of multiplication. I'm going to start with the commutative property. By taking a look at the commutative property, which, as a reminder, allows us to rearrange the factors. So if I'm looking at this first problem, 8 times 7 times 5, I'm going to take a look at that. Now, 8 times 7 is 56. And then I would have to do 56 times 5. However, 56 times 5 requires me to do two-digit multiplication. But if I'm looking ahead at my different problem, I might see a better way to do this. Instead, what I'm going to do is I take a look here, and I notice there's an 8 times 5. So if I do 8 times 5 and then times 7, well, 8 times 5 is 40. 40 times 7 is 280. A second example similar to that, well, 12 times 11 is 132. I do not want to be doing 132 times 5. That's a lot of extra work. But watch what I can do instead. I can take my 12 times 5, rearrange my factors, and then do times 11. Well, 12 times 5 is 60. And then I do 60 times 11. Well, 6 times 11 is 66. And then I have my 0. That would be the commutative property. Now let's take a look at the associative property. With the associative property, if you remember, what we can do is we can group our factors in a way that makes sense. Let me show you what I mean. So 2 times 12 times 6. I could put the parentheses there. 2 times 12, which is 24. And then I would do times 6. And 24 times 6, well, that requires me to do some multiplication, some two-digit multiplication. So what I'm going to do instead of doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do and move my parentheses and put it around the 12 times 6. Now the 12 times 6 is what I have to multiply first. So now I'm going to have 2 times 72. And the reason I like that is because doubles aren't so bad. Well, 72 twice is 144. So 2 times 12 times 6 is 144. And if I had done 24 times 6, that's exactly what I would have gotten. 6 times 4 is 24. That's 12 plus the 2 extra is 144. So I get the same answer. I just got a little bit quicker. Let's take a look at another problem. 10 times 8 times 9. Now this one isn't quite as obvious because 10 times 8 isn't so bad. That's 80. And then do times 9, which is 720. Or I could do the 8 times 9 first here. And if I do 8 times 9 first, I'm going to get 72. And then do that times 10 and get 720. So the associative property at this point doesn't really make much of a difference. However, knowing that associative property, I can make the choices to which way I think is best. So that's the associative property. Now let's take a look at the distributive property. Now the distributive property, remember, is the distributive property of multiplication over addition or over subtraction. Now, what I can do, if I see a problem like 12 times 15, well, I could come over here and I could do 12 times 15 like so, but that's two-digit times two-digit. That's not what I really feel like doing. So what I'm going to do is, since 12 is a basic fact, I'm going to keep my 12. And I look at my 15 and I think, you know what? I can make that into 10 plus 5. And guess what? I know what 12 times 10 is. So now I'm going to do 12 times 10. And I also know what 12 times 5 is. So if I do these two separately, 12 times 10 is 120. 12 times 5 is 60. So my final answer is 180. 120 plus 60 is 180. Now, as I said, I could have done that this way. Let's just double check. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 extra is 6. Now I'm going to do the multiply by the 1, which is really 10, so I put my 0, cross off my regrouping, 1 times 2, 1 times 1, and lo and behold, I get 180. So it did work out. Now, sometimes when I see a problem, this one looks like it's perfect for the 9 times 12 plus 8. It looks like it's perfect for the distributive property. Do 9 times 12, and then do 9 times 8. Well, 9 times 12 is 108, and then 9 times 8 is 72. Now, some of us can do that, but some of us need to come over here and then regroup and do all of that work. What I notice when I see this one is this 12 plus 8, if I were to put that together, that's 20. So why don't I do 9 times 20? Because I now know 9 times 2 is 18. So it's 180. Oh, it's the same answer. So again, 9 times 12 was 108. 9 times 8 was 72. And if I add those, 72 plus 108 is 180. But that's just kind of a different way of taking a look at the distributive property.